Rather lads, welcome back to the Cossy Arsenal podcast. My name is Cossy. Welcome back to a brand new video. This is the latest Arsenal news and transfer news as well. Mikel Merino and Fabian Ruiz. What's going on? Are we getting both of them? Should we get both of them? What is the latest on Fabian Ruiz and what's the latest on Mikel Merino as well? Arsenal are making moves to sign their next player, and it's going to be a midfielder as revealed today by an exclusive from Graham Bailey of TBR Sports. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. In the comment box below, I want to have your thoughts, guys. Let's settle this. Do we go for both of them? Is it better for us to have Merino and Fabian Ruiz? Or should we actually just go and get Fabian Ruiz or Mikel Merino, just one of them? Now, there is a possibility that we lose Thomas Partey, but sign both of them. I want your thoughts there. Should we sell Partey? Should we let go of Thomas Partey this summer, but sign both Mikel Merino or Fabian Ruiz? Or should we actually keep Partey and just sign one of them? Thoughts in the comment box below right about now. So let's start off with the latest on the two deals before we get into the discussion on whether Arsenal should get both of them or just one of them. Today, new information has actually come out since Duncan Castles published his exclusive on the Fabian Ruiz deal. And the information that has come out comes in from French sources who are saying that PSG are very much willing to sell Fabian Ruiz this summer. The manager there, in Luis Enrique, doesn't really fancy the player, doesn't really see him as part of the project. And that's why they're building a new midfield. And that midfield is not going to have Fabian Ruiz as a key member. They already have players like Vitinha there. They're adding the likes of Joao Neves there. So the likes of Renato Sanchez, the likes of Fabian Ruiz are all part of a massive clear out that PSG are trying to do as they try to rebuild their project as well. And for me, that's a big story. That's a major headline for Arsenal. Of course, there have been more reports from Foot Mercato that are saying that there is not really talks going on between Arsenal and PSG. There is interest, yes, between Fabian Ruiz and and Arsenal. The player would love to play for Arsenal and Mikel Arteta, and also Arsenal would love to sign the player. But at the moment, there are no talks. So that's where we are. Duncan Castles in the UK says there are talks happening. It was an exclusive yesterday. And Foot Mercato, who are closer to PSG and closer to the French news economy, are saying not really. There are no talks going on. But all in all, at least all the publications are still reporting one thing: that Arsenal are interested in Fabian Ruiz, that the player is interested in the move, which is actually very interesting, and also that at the moment PSG are willing to listen to offers and sell the player because it's not part of the plans of the manager. And again, guys, I'm not surprised that Luis Enrique is not interested and is not planning to use the player as part of his key project. Remember when he was managing Spain, Luis Enrique was not playing Fabian Ruiz. Again, he was a big fan of Dani Olmo, big fan of Sergio Busquets, of course, and a big fan of Barcelona players Gavi and Pedri. That's when we saw Spain line up with Gavi and Pedri at the same time, for a long period of time in games, because Fabian Ruiz was not a player that Luis Enrique loves. Now, when it comes to Luis Enrique, I think he loves players that pass the ball more than players that actually keep the ball, at their feet and dribble. Hence, Pedri, hence Gavi, right? So he's leaving PSG. Arsenal have already told PSG, we would love to sign the guy. We would love to give you an obligation after we take him on loan. And PSG have not given us a response. That means that either we've actually not launched a proposal yet, or we are in negotiations. I still want to see how this one develops. Now, on the Mikel Merino deal, we don't have big updates on this one as compared to where we were yesterday or in the last 48 hours. But Team News Antics has come out and said Arsenal are getting closer and closer now to signing Mikel Merino. They believe that after Ricardo Calafiori, Mikel Merino will be our next signing this summer. That is massive. And why that is massive is, number one, it comes in from one of the usual sources that we can really affiliate with Arsenal recently. So you remember that Team News Antics, Charles Watts, Fabrizio, and David Onstein, they have been the four sources that have been really giving us concrete Arsenal news in this summer. So the story is quickly moving away from these, Spanish Pikelele reporters into the mainstream reporters, and that is Fabrizio, and that is the Athletic, and that is that is Team News Antics as well. So Team News Antics says Arsenal believe they are going to get him. They believe they're getting closer and closer, and don't be surprised just to hear boom, personal terms agreed, boom, a fee has been agreed, or even something bigger than that. Now, Fabrizio yesterday came out and said Arsenal trying to do their deals one by one, deal by deal. They're not going to rush. They want to first deal with outgoings, and then they will also get in incomings as well. But he said what is very, very important is that the Ricardo Calafiori deal, getting out of the way, is going to be a big factor for Mikel Merino coming in. So that means that today we have confirmed that Ricardo Calafiori is in London to do his medicals. Probably by the time I'm recording this, or by the time you're watching this, he's doing his medicals already. I'll give you an update on that one. But if Ricardo Calafiori gets announced, then Arsenal must start working on the other deal right away, and that is Mikel Merino. So I posed the question in the morning, who should we sign of the two? And I'm still asking you the same question. Who do we get? Do we go for Mikel Merino, or do we actually go for Fabian Ruiz? Or should we go for both of them? Now, for me, I'm going to say this. The idea of Thomas Partey leaving Arsenal this summer, I've 100% crossed that out in my memory, in my mind, and in my diary and dictionary. It should be off the cards. I think Arsenal are better, honestly, with Thomas Partey. When you think about Thomas Partey, when Arsenal don't have the other midfielders, but they have Partey and Odegaard, that's already a complete midfield. You just need another player just to complete the midfield. It could be Vieira, it could be Rice, it could be Havertz, it could be anyone. As long as Thomas Partey is at the best of the midfield, everything is all right. Everything is okay. So Partey leaving Arsenal, it's a no-brainer. He stays, at least he stays for one more season. But I'm worried that Arsenal being linked with these two, and these are two players that have both played as central midfielders and defensive midfielders. Both of them can play there. I don't think Fabian Ruiz can really play as a DM. Like, I just don't see it. But with Mikel Merino, I can see it. I can see his physicality. I can see his intelligence on the ball. I can see the way he takes care of the ball. He can be a Jorginho. He's closer to Jorginho than Fabian Ruiz can ever be closer to Jorginho or to Thomas Partey. So if we are losing Partey this summer, I wouldn't replace him with Fabian Ruiz or Mikel Merino. None of them gives you that quality. So the only way I'm saying Arsenal should sign both of them is if there is a guarantee that we keep Partey. If we are keeping Partey 100%, you can go and sign one of them. You can go and sign both of them. I don't really care, because this Arsenal midfield for me can go and do a very good job next season without signing another player. I'm not saying you don't sign another player. Don't get me wrong. It's a necessity. It's a priority that we sign a midfielder. But even if we signed a midfielder and he made 0 appearances next season, if Partey stays fit and Rice stays fit and Odegaard stays fit as well and Jorginho stays fit as well, those 4 can win you the Premier League. I mean, those 4 can win you the Premier League. And of course, I've not talked about Ethan Nwaneri. I've not talked about Fabio Vieira as well. So the constant in my analysis is Partey must stay for us to think about anything else. Partey must stay. We can't afford to lose Thomas Partey right now. So Partey, if Partey stays, then we can have the debate of 2 or 1. So let's start off with the debate of 2 or 1. What are the necessities that we sign to? I think the necessities are that we lose a midfielder. We've been told that 100 million times. Even Fabrizio said today that Arsenal's midfield move is also going to depend on a midfielder going out. And I think we already have a midfielder going out. I think we already know who is going to be leaving Arsenal in that midfield. Of course, El Neni is gone. If you lose another player in Emile Smith-Rowe, you're 100% going to replace him. So for me, I'm saying we go with 2, not 1. And I know many people have actually had the debate. Merino is better. Fabian Ruiz is better. I don't think that's the debate we need to be having right now. I don't think that is a debate that serves Arsenal good right now. That debate would serve Arsenal good if our priority was to get just one of them. But I think our priority, and it would be in Arsenal's good books, if we get both of them, not just one of them. Just imagine Arsenal, line up in an FA Cup game with Declan Rice in number 6, Mikel Merino, and Fabio Vieira. That's completely a very different midfield from Arsenal lining up with Partey, Fabian Ruiz, and Martin Odegaard. This is a very different three. Or probably, potentially could have Rice, Jorginho, and Mikel Merino, right? And then Fabio Vieira playing on the right-hand side, to replace Saka. Again, that is completely a very different, concept. So why I want both of them is for issues of squad depth. I think Manchester City have a lot of squad depth in their midfield. There are players like Matthias Nunes that they never use. There are players like Calvin Phillips that have never, kicked ball for Pep Guardiola. You have, Bernardo Silva, Rodri, Kevin De Bruyne, Phil Foden. You just want those options, and I just want us to have those options. My only fear with these two signing at the same time is the age bracket. Right now, both of them would be bargains. Again, another reason why we should go for both of them. You're going to sign 2 international level Spanish players that are playing in the number 8, quality players at just less than 50 million euros. At less than 50 million euros or at 50 million euros. That's a very good deal. That would be, impeccable. Very, very good business. But it's the age that actually worries me. Both of them are 28. In 2 years' time, you're looking to replace both of them in the squad, right? Unless Mikel Arteta is looking at it in this way. We sign Mikel Merino, and we use him during this period of time where Ethan Nwaneri is developing into a better player. And, he says if Mikel Merino is leaving, let's say 2020, maybe 4 years later, right? We're in 2024. So 4 years later, 2028 or 2029, that's 5 years later, Mikel Merino is leaving and Ethan Nwaneri is stepping into that space. The way we saw with Ilkay Gundogan leaving and Phil Foden just stepping into the new role at in Manchester City. And of course, with Kevin De Bruyne also injury prone these days, playing in and out, you expect Phil Foden to play a much bigger role for them, and the likes of Lewis as well. So I'm thinking Mikel Arteta could be thinking in the same way. Can we get Mikel Merino to kind of give a shield to Ethan Nwaneri as he develops into a much better player in the future? And then 3 years later, Nwaneri becomes an important player for Arsenal, and then we can get rid of Mikel Merino. With Fabian Ruiz, that is the age. He's in his prime. You saw his football. You saw his ball at the Euros, balling against Germany, balling against France, balling against England as well. You just love to see it. He's a quality player, right? And if we were to get one of them, right? If we were to get one of them, the reason would be, why would you get two 28-year-olds? That's number one. Secondly, the Arsenal policy has always been clear. We want to sign a player, right, in midfield, but we want to sign players that are 24 and below. So there is no way we are going to get an average age. What is 28 plus 28? Is that like something like 56? There is no way we're getting an average, a median age of 56 just by 2 players. And you're adding that to Jorginho, who is 39, to Thomas Partey, who is like 33, 31, around there. The plan for the future doesn't look very good. So the one thing I would say here is, if Arsenal can afford to sign one of them and then go out in the market and get a player who's a little bit younger, he doesn't have to be expensive. I'm thinking a player like Adam Wharton. Will Adam Wharton be cheap at Crystal Palace? Probably not. He's had a very, very good half season at Crystal Palace. Who could be cheap in the 8 and could do a massive job in the future? Because, listen, you must look at it in both ways. You must look at it in the first way, where one of the players, right? One of the players is older, and then the other is a little bit younger. So that average age would be the reason why I don't go for both of them. So if we are going for one, who is the best option? I know you've told me Merino is not good. Merino is not the one. Merino is. I want us to be honest, right? Guys, you have not watched Mikel Merino. That is all you're trying to say, but you're trying to give expert advice on Merino. You've not even read about him. You've not even. The best you've done in terms of research probably is watch his highlights at the Euros and maybe some YouTube clips. That is what you've done. But if you've watched Merino, like if you sit down, just get one associated game, just one. I've got 2 games that I watched and I'm like, okay, I can see. I'm not saying because of those games he's so good. I'm saying I can see why they want him. I can see why Mikel Merino wants him. I can see the Granit Xhaka there. I can see the Granit Xhaka effect. I can see the reason as to why we signed Ricardo Calafiori and why Calafiori would be a much better fit into Arsenal with Mikel Merino and would be a much better fit into Arsenal with a player like Fabian Ruiz, if we can get a player like Fabian Ruiz. So if I was to go for one, it's difficult. It's difficult for a person who supports Spain. It's very difficult, right? But the way I've seen Mikel Arteta, I don't want us to sign Fabian Ruiz and then he sits on the bench. But Fabian Ruiz would make our left-hand side much better. Much, much better in terms of attacking. And with Calafiori as well, because what we saw for Spain was Cucurella, Nico Williams, and Fabian Ruiz. That triangle caused a lot of problems for a lot of nations. And remember, Spain's main metronome in attack was through Lamine Yamal. So you had Yamal on the other side with Carvajal and Dani Olmo causing problems as well. I think if I'm going to go with one of them, I'm going to go with Mikel Merino. I'm going to go. I mean, it's a weird take, isn't it? It's a weird take. But I'm going to go with Mikel Merino. I'm not going to give you a reason because it's a weird take. I just told you it's a weird take. But for me, I would go with Merino and then just see what happens later. You might disagree with this one. I know you're going to disagree with this one.